California, Mr. Sherman, who is also the chair of the Subcommittee on Investor Protection, Entrepreneurship, and Capital Markets, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Madam Secretary, at the beginning of this year, we faced $16 trillion of legacy LIBOR, where the parties would not know how much interest should be paid by the borrower to the lender. We've solved that problem. I want to thank you and your staff for your help in drafting the LIBOR Act, and then I want to thank the other part of your staff for promptly issuing tax regulations to clarify what I think was obvious, but it always deserves clarification when you're dealing with $16 trillion, and that is that there was no sale or exchange as a result of the change in index. The chair of the Small Business Committee brought up in her comments the issue of cryptocurrency and Russians using that to evade our sanctions. I want to commend all members of this committee. The bill I've dropped today, the Russia Digital Assets Sanctions Compliance Act, which would give the administration the authority to tell crypto exchanges that they have to shut down all Russian wallets or some portion of Russian wallets. The crypto exchanges have announced that they're going to do business as usual with all those that they believe are Russian citizens or Russian companies unless and until laws are passed that require them to do otherwise. This is in real contrast to so much of the rest of the private sector, which has voluntarily cut off Russia, particularly their oligarchs and government. The ranking member of the full committee brought up the issue of a possible invasion of Taiwan. I look forward to working with him and others on this committee on a bill that would strip China of its most favored nation status or normal trade relationship with the United States automatically should there be an invasion or blockade of Taiwan. We, of course, focus on Ukraine, and I will in a second, but an even greater disaster is occurring in the world, and that is in the Ethiopian region of Tigray, where 500,000 people have been killed. This has been done not only by the Ethiopian government, but the government of Eritrea, which have imposed a blockade that threatens to kill hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. Given the short time, I'm going to ask you to respond for the record. What additional sanctions can we oppose, particularly on Eritrea, which has crossed international border for the purpose of engaging in a coordinated genocide against the people of Tigray? It's hard to seize Russian oligarch assets if you don't know who owns what. Washington Post reported on March 16th that finding yachts and mansions is easier than uncovering money in private equity funds that don't need to comply with the same anti-corruption rules. U.S. private equity, hedge funds, venture capitals are not currently required to disclose beneficial ownership information of their investors to FinCEN, nor are they required to provide that information to the SEC. In February, the House passed the Competes Act, which included an amendment that I authored requiring the issuers of large issuances of exempt securities to file beneficial ownership with the SEC. We do need to know about this $11 trillion of private securities market if we're going to know what's owned by which government agencies in Moscow or which Russian oligarchs. Congresswoman Maloney's Corporate Transparency Act now requires Treasury to establish a federal beneficial ownership database administered by FinCEN. Madam Secretary, can you give us information on the time frame where we expect this database to be set up?
So let me say on the FinCEN, we are working very hard to establish that database as rapidly as possible and have come out with one of the two proposed rules that we need. It's a very complex undertaking. We want to get it right. I want to respond on the issue about private equity firms and hedge funds, that we share the concerns of members of Congress who have raised this issue, and we're actively considering a rule that would address potential gaps in the AML-CFT coverage for investment advisors, and do believe that this is something that needs to be addressed.
Thank you. It may just have to respond for the record, but we now have a climate counselor in the administration to coordinate a broad range of work regarding climate-related finance, economic, and tax policy. I hope you could provide us with an update on Treasury's efforts to coordinate with our international partners.
Be happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you. The gentleman from